Russell Wilson is back? For one night at least. It certainly seems that way. Welcome into Verts, Sunday Night Football in the books. Steelers absolutely hammer the Jets 37-15, score the final 31 points of the game to improve to 5-2 on the season. Jets fall to 2-5. We're going to break it all down here on Verts. Subscribe to the channel. Dropped the video earlier. Went live for the noon slate earlier today as well. Doing another video tonight, cranking out all of the content for you guys. If you love the NFL, if you love college football, we are the channel for you. We just crossed 4,000 subscribers. Shout out to all you real ones. Let's keep the train rolling. Let's get to 5,000 here on Verts. All right, what a performance. It looked dicey early. The Boo Birds came out a little bit early from Steelers fans. They were getting a little irritated by the offense's slow start, but after trailing 15-6, they absolutely dominated this game, scoring the final 31 points, shutting out the Jets 24-0 in the second half. And we got to give credit where credit is due. I wouldn't have done it. I didn't really understand it. Mike Tomlin goes to Russell Wilson in this game tonight, despite Justin Fields and the Steelers getting off to a 4-2 start. Not solely because of Fields, certainly not. More so because of the defense, but complimentary football. I just kind of thought this feels a little crazy to go to Wilson, who has not played that well the last couple of years. And at least for one night, I thought he played pretty well. Now, a lot of the big plays early were just lob it up to George Pickens and let him make a play or get a PI. But it seemed like that kind of got him going. It's like, okay, open up the vertical passing game. The running lanes open up a little bit on the ground. You can stay balanced. And then Russ started to get comfortable, and he made some plays. Some of the plays in the first half felt kind of fluky. Like Pickens made a couple of those contested catches. You get a 50-50 DPI call, and all of a sudden you're in the end zone to cut it to 15-13. You're like, okay, this doesn't look great, but 13 first half points, it's better than what they've been doing. But in the second half, the offense was smooth. I mean, 16-29. I think he started 5 of 12, 5 of 13, so he was much better after that. 264, so quick math, 16 completions for 264. I mean, that's what, 14 yards of completion or so. So you're getting chunk plays there. George Pickens, 5 for 111, 22 yards a catch. Freiermuth had 2 for 51. Calvin Austin, 1 for 36. So the chunk plays, the explosives were there. I did not see that coming. Russ, for the most part, the last few years has been a dink and dunk guy. Now, in the peak of his powers, he was that moon ball, deep ball thrower. And we saw that a few times tonight. Now, a lot of them were underthrown, but he did hit a couple of nice ones in the second half. And he just started to kind of gain confidence as the game went on. The quick game was efficient in the second half, getting the ball out of his hands into playmakers. And give Mike Tomlin credit. Again, I would not have done this. It didn't feel like you had to do this. I kind of thought part of the math of doing this was if Justin Fields plays over 51% of the snaps, the pick the Steelers owe the Bears turns from a 6th-round pick to a 4th-round pick. So I kind of thought part of this was, okay, just start Russ and see if you can get a similar output. And if it's similar, we'll just play him and keep the better draft pick. Well, while that might have played a role, and I certainly think it did a little bit, Russ also played well tonight and deserves to start again next week. I don't think there's any question about that. Now, am I convinced after one game he's just going to run away with this thing and this Steelers offense is going to be a juggernaut? Not really. The Steelers offensive line held the Jets defensive front in check. Like, that probably should not happen. This Steelers offensive line is on a 3rd or 4th center. Broderick Jones, for the most part this year, has been terrible at right tackle. You're on a backup right guard. I don't know what's going on with the Jets, but for one night, for one game, Russell Wilson played well and justified that decision by Mike Tomlin. There's no question about that. And if I'm going to be critical, if I'm going to sit here and say I would go with Justin Fields, when they don't and Russ plays well, I have to acknowledge that. Otherwise, how could you take me seriously as a host? So things change, information changes, and I react based on what I see. And what I saw tonight was Russell Wilson was pretty damn good. He really was. I'd say it's one of the better games he's played in the last few years. No doubt about that. And I mentioned the balance. Steelers rushed for $149 on 36 carries. Najee Harris, second straight 100-yard game, 102 yards on 21 carries. Jaylen Warren added 44 rushing. Russ had a rushing touchdown, just a QB sneak, but still 3 total touchdowns for him tonight. This is a good performance. Good performance from Pittsburgh. One thing I do wonder if they'll add, especially if Russ keeps stacking good games, I do think they should find a role for Fields. Like, they got inside the 5 a couple times. I'm like, are they going to put him in there and just run with them? They didn't do that tonight, but I would think that's going to be part of the package, assuming Russ does take the job permanently, which, again, I think this truly is a week-to-week situation right now for the Steelers. You look at their upcoming schedule. Giants at home next week. That's a game they should win to get to 6-2. But then they go to Washington, Baltimore at home, at Cleveland, a game they should win. Deshaun Watson out for the season, although maybe that makes the game tougher. Who knows? At Philly, at Baltimore, Chiefs at home, Bengals at home. So the rest of the way is pretty tough. But if you win next week to get to 6-2, you're in a pretty damn good position if you are the Pittsburgh Steelers. Defense was dominant in the second half. Couple of picks off of Aaron Rodgers. Beanie Bishop Jr., the UDFA corner out of West Virginia, had a sick interception where he kind of baited Rodgers into it and stuck his arm out late, one-handed it, picked it off, and then he picked him off again off a drop by Garrett Wilson, a brutal drop by Wilson that he picked off and ran back to the 1-yard line. Just something with the Jets, man. It's just not working. You know, they can blame Robert Saleh. He's the issue. This and that. Oh, we got Devontae Adams now. We're going to take off. Hey, you just got punked. You got up 15-6 in this half, and then Rodgers throws that pick at the end of the half, gives Pittsburgh 7 points, and it changed the whole game, it felt like. It just, I cannot take the Jets seriously, and it has to be asked, is the season over? At 2-5, are the Jets finished? Because their remaining schedule, at New England next week, a game they should win, but Drake may play fairly well. Who knows? New England has talent on defense. But let's say they win that, 3-5. Texans at home, I don't expect them to win that. At Arizona, that's a 50-50 game. Colts at home, 50-50 game. Seahawks at home, I would make them a slight underdog. At Miami, 50-50 game if Tua's back. At Jacksonville, probably a slight favorite. So they do have winnable games, but Rams, at Bills, Dolphins at home. To get to 10-7, you're going to have to go 8-2 the rest of the way. Again, it's not Murderer's Row coming up, but the Jets, can you be confident in them going up against anybody? You just gave up 37 to Russell Wilson, who hasn't played all year, who has not been a very good player the last couple of seasons. I think the Jets are done. Ulbrich looks in over his head, and look, he's an interim. I don't blame the guy. Rodgers can still spin it a little bit, but the accuracy at his age wanes a little. He doesn't move anymore. The defense clearly isn't the same. That's the one thing with Saleh. When he was in there, the defense was going to be solid. That slipped the 2 games he hasn't been around. I don't know. I think the Jets are. I think the Jets are done. And, this has to be said. I know Devontae Adams played with Rodgers for 10 years, whatever it was in Green Bay, and had a ton of success. Him wanting to sign up for this, is questionable judgment at best. Rodgers could retire in 2 months. What is Devontae doing? You don't want to go to the Ravens. You don't want to go to the Bills. You want to go to the Jets. That is questionable at best. But this is the same guy that wanted to leave Green Bay and go to the Raiders. So, who knows? We'll see if they can get it going. But at some point, you have to acknowledge a team for what they are. They're a 2-5 team. They're going to get Hassan Reddick back. We'll see if he can help out that defense. Will McDonald's the only good pass rusher, it seems like right now. To get no pressure on Russ tonight against a bad offensive line is pretty embarrassing. I thought it was a really bad performance from the Jets. All right, some news before we get out of here. Brandon Aiyuk, probably done for the year. Kyle Shanahan told reporters after the Niners lost to the Chiefs that they believe Aiyuk has a torn ACL. He'll have an MRI tomorrow to confirm or deny that, I suppose. But typically these teams know nowadays. It's like when they say he's feared to have, that's like a 99% chance. This is a major deal. And Aiyuk has not been off to a great start this year. He had the holdout. That has seemed to carry over into the season a little bit. But he's their one guy that can consistently beat man coverage. And the Chiefs run exclusively man and just blitz you all night. And they don't have guys that can get open. And Brock Purdy starts forcing the ball. He threw 3 picks today. The Niners have a long way to go at 3-4 before potentially reuniting with the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. But if that matchup were to happen again, that's major advantage Kansas City. For one, they've beaten them 5 times in a row. Shanahan can't beat Andy Reid. And 2, it's just a matchup nightmare. They can't beat man coverage with their receivers. Debo can't do it. Kittle's going to make a play here and there, but not enough to make a huge impact. Is Ricky Pearsall going to turn it on? There was a miscommunication with him and Purdy that led to an interception. I think right now the Niners are just fighting to be a playoff team at 3-4. Luckily, their division sucks. The Seahawks are 4-3 on top of the division, and San Francisco has the head-to-head there, so they're in a good position in that regard. But they got a long way to go to be a legitimate Super Bowl contender, and losing Brandon Aiyuk does not help that cause. So certainly something to monitor, and with the trade deadline a couple weeks away, it'll be interesting to see if they make any moves. All right, there you have it for Verts Sunday Night Football NFL News Reaction here for you guys. My name is Harrison Graham. We'll be back tomorrow with more coverage. Monday Night Football doubleheader. We'll react to that as well. Until then, enjoy the rest of your night.